maybe this time we will do it right. So don't worry about the camera. Just look at it for a few seconds and just turn around.
All right.
It's just as it is. Hi, welcome to the National Quiz Twice Online News. Saying hi, I'm Robin Stienberg, and today we have a very special guest, and that is Julie Lim from the United States. She is the owner and executive officer of Orange County Wine Mart and Tasting. She is also nominated as the top 20 women of OC Metro magazine. And today she's been sharing with us insights on what's happening in the United States in pertaining to Asian women doing business, and also trends on retail for wines and beers. And also we will probably get to know more her better pertaining to how she started her business in the United States. And Julie, thanks for joining us. May I ask, when do you first decide to start business and establish a wine mart, in Orange County? What's the story behind it?
Well, when I graduated from law school, I actually started my very first business. So I was in the gift shop business. I still am in the gift shop business for over 15 years. I run gift shops in the local casinos and card clubs. When I lost one of my gift shops due to, we couldn't renew our lease, I decided to venture into a different kind of business. I started looking at liquor shops, liquor stores. I wanted to start my own liquor store and make it more upscale, find a liquor store in a good location, good neighborhood, and fix it up. Because I find that most liquor stores are very run down, and as a woman I feel very uncomfortable walking in to buy even a convenience item. So being from the gift shop business, I felt that we had enough experience to open a liquor store, so that's what I did.
So when you first started out this liquor store, did any of your family members, including your husband, thought that you were crazy?
Well, yes. I'm always the risk taker, and he's always the devil's advocate. So he told me, you don't have any experience in wine and spirits and liquor. How are you going to do this business? And I told him that, if I don't try, I wouldn't know. And if I failed, that's all right. We will sell the business. So my philosophy is failure is not trying. So I said, give me some time and I'll see if it works.
No, that's good, because many would like to ask right now is, how do you actually get yourself into wine education, and what kind of marketing strategies and concepts do you use and approach?
Well, when I first started OC Wine Mart, I had no knowledge of wine or beer or spirits. So I hired a general manager who had 15-year experience in the industry, and he taught me a lot. He built a very strong foundation for our wine and spirits, but especially for craft beer, because craft beer is now getting to be very, very popular in California and United States. As far as my marketing strategy, when I first started, it was just an ordinary liquor store, even though it was nice inside and upscale and comfortable. How do you market a liquor store? I couldn't market a liquor store. So I adapted the shop, made it into more of a specialty wine shop, brought in a lot of very unique beers, craft beers. I also added a tasting bar using the Nomadic self-service wine tasting system that's from Italy. And that system allows my clients or customers to try up to 24 wines. When they come to the shop, we have 24 wines for them to sample before they buy. So with that new concept, I'm able to market OC Wine Mart.
So you're the only guys that has this
The Nomadic system.
System, yes.
We're not the only ones, but we were the first ones in Orange County to have a self-service Nomadic system, where you use a wine card and you put it into the machine.
Amazing. And I find that your design and layout of your wine mart seems to have this a very feminine and woman's touch to it. Is that correct?
Yes, definitely.
The decor and all that.
Yeah, our staff members are all female, including my mother, and I also hired a sommelier to help us recommend wines to our customers. All our staff are female, and we cater to a very strong female clientele. They feel very comfortable. We are not a typical wine bar. We have a tasting room that feels kind of like a Starbucks for wine. So they feel very comfortable.
And speaking about Starbucks for wine, do you see that the future OC County wine mart and tasting able to expand into a similar concept to other states, even overseas?
Well, I've had a lot of customers ask me if we have other branches, other locations, and it's perhaps something for the future. We might open another location and we'll go from there.
Even for a franchise, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a little further ahead, but you have to have 2 or 3 locations, I think, before you even think about a franchise.
But what kind of risk was it involved when you first set up the OC Wine Mart?
It was a very risky venture for us because at that time the economy was at the rock bottom, and I bought this particular location knowing that it was very, very challenging. It was one of the lowest priced liquor stores in Orange County.
And how much you bought?
The average price of a liquor store, it depends on their sales. So the average price is maybe about 300,000, and this particular one was on sale for about 100,000. So I knew it was a very challenging location, but I didn't realize how challenging it was going to be.
So what kind of challenges do you face when you first started? Was it the location itself? Or?
Yeah, it was a very obscure location. First of all, it was not in a residential location. It was in more of a business area, corporate area. So we didn't have a lot of traffic coming in and out of our strip mall. It wasn't a very busy strip mall. So I had a lot of challenges in terms of location, and also people knew that location was a liquor store for 20 years, so they didn't expect to walk into a very nice shop, wine shop. They expected a run-down liquor store. So I actually used digital marketing to market our business.
Including Yelp, I heard.
Yelp is one of the ways that we got recognized very quickly. We provided excellent customer service, and people wrote a very positive Yelp review about us, and that's how more and more people found us.
Now, what is the most memorable experience you ever had in the course of your business, in dealing with your customers after you have launched OC Mart?
OC Wine Mart. Well, we have earlier we spoke about female clientele. We had one female customer in particular. She was recently divorced, and she felt very uncomfortable going to places alone. She felt very intimidated going to places alone, but she enjoyed wine very much. So when her friend invited her to one of our events, she was very hesitant to come because she didn't want to come by herself. So, but when she walked in, she told me that she immediately felt welcome and she immediately felt at home, and she has been coming to our events ever since.
Now, running your business, you know, uh, people are asking, you know, I mean, you're a mother of 3 children, wonderful children, and your
Two.
husband. Sorry, 2 children, sorry.
3 including my husband.
Yes, and of course, and how do you balance your work life, you know, and able to overcome stress and, of course, some say anger management as well, you know, because running a retail is not an easy business. I would imagine you had to run almost about 10, 12 hours, maybe 16 hours a day. How do you do that?
Well, between my gift shops are all open 24 hours a day.
Really?
Yes. And my the OC Wine Mart is only open for 10 hours a day. Between my businesses, I have about 30 employees. And my children are still young. My son is 10, my daughter is 7, and ever since my son was born, I generally work from home. And people think I'm at OC Wine Mart all the time, but I'm actually not. I wish I could be there all the time. I'm sure our business would improve if I were able to be there all the time, but I chose to be home to pick up my children and to take them to activities and whatnot. So I'm only at OC Wine Mart for the events and on busy evenings.
But if it was otherwise, if it was just you, maybe let's say 3, 4 employees, and you had children, how would that? How would you able to manage? Would it be different from then?
Well, that's where my mom comes in. My mom is at the shop full time. She actually helps me with my other businesses as well, and that's why I can't live without my mom.
So it's a team effort.
Definitely, definitely. My husband is very supportive. He has his own job. He's a physician assistant, but he's very understanding. If I have to work late, sometimes hosting events and also hosting wine parties. So he likes me to be home, of course.
Now, your parents were the source of your inspiration, and you know, you became one of the top 20 women, you know, that's been mentioned in the OC Metro magazine. And has there been any code, you know, that you live by that was passed on to you by your mother, or you know, for almost the rest of your life?
Well, my mom always say, finish what you started.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's the only thing you remember?
Well, no, of course not. But in terms of business, she always used to tell me to finish what I started. And my own quote is, or motto is, people first. I always put people first rather than business or money. And that's how I've always been conducting my business, putting people as a priority.
Including your family?
Including my family, yes.
And talking about people, you know, many businesses find very challenging at times because of stress, and because, of course, you're fortunate. I think you work from home, you know, but women are also asking, you know, how do they able to put hedges in their life when it comes to temptation, you know, because when they have to deal for clients, and some of them somehow they fall in love with them of some sort. Is there any advice you would give to women, even those who are in business, and certain positions, where is there a principle they can live by, how they can avoid any conflicts when it comes to business and work, and personal life as well, of course.
Well, I think trust is very important. Yes, you have to trust your spouse, and your spouse have to trust you. And respecting yourself, I think, is very important, because if you respect yourself, others would respect you too. I've never been in any situations where I have to be compromised or compromise my morals or standards, because I respect myself, and people are forced to respect me as well.
Of course, your husband gets jealous when a man gives a compliment to you.
What he doesn't know wouldn't hurt him.
I understand. Now, now, from this journey, what sort of lessons have you learned from this journey thus far that has brought you? I mean, have you learned anything?
I think I learn something new every day. I learn something about how to run my business. I learn about how to deal with people. I learn how to be a better person every day.
Really?
Yeah.
And now, for women who was trying to venture into a business, and like yourself, you are, may say you're gung ho, and you are, you dare to pursue it. What advice would you give to them, when they venture?
I think you need to do a lot of research before you start your own business. I think I made the mistake sometimes of being too gung-ho, as you say, and just jumping into a particular business. I think you have to do a lot of research, talk to a lot of people, get a lot of advice from people who have experienced success in business. Get advice and get help, get consultation. And sometimes you have to be honest with yourself, because not every one of us is cut out to run a business. What is your risk? What is your aversion to risk? Are you a risk taker? Are you a more conservative person? If you're more conservative, then you're probably it's not advisable for you to take, a big risk as starting your own business. So I think women should definitely do more research and learn about themselves, and see if owning their own business is for them.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that while you're running your own business, many women are asking, is it better off for them to do business using their own finances, or does partnership works, especially among family members? What is your take in your own experience?
Well, I believe that a partnership would work only if the people are compatible, your thinking is compatible as to how you're going to approach the business, or if you can agree on who is going to be the leader. There has to be a leader in any corporation, even if it consists of several partners. Somebody has to always make the final decision. So if people can agree and have one leader who's going to make the final decision, then I think a partnership can be successful. Also, if different people in the partnership can contribute different talents and aptitude into the business, I think it would work as well. But if you don't lack the resources, the financial resource, if you don't lack it, if you have enough resource to start your own business, and if you don't find anyone compatible, then having your own business without any partners might be less complicated.
No, it's about compatible. Sorry, and and you said that that you'd be better off that you're able to sync. What was the most difficult decision you ever made so far in your journey in OC Mart? Um, Now that you chose to be the leader of of this whole thing, and not your husband, of course. What is the most decision that you've ever made so far?
Most difficult decision?
Yes.
Well, I think the most difficult decision always has to do with terminating an employee. I used to hire people because they needed a job, but I think I learned my lesson that do not mix business with charity. So just hire out of necessity, hire people I need, and not hire someone because they need a job, or keep someone on board because they need a job. So I learned to separate business from charity. The most difficult decisions are always to let go of an employee.
Speaking of employees, many parents are asking, about time being a mother, and they ask, how much time do you think parents should spend their time with their children? And also today there are many single mothers as well, and what kind of encouragement can you give to them? And do you think that they should find a partner that is willing to support them as well?
As far as women in business?
Yes.
Well, my mom was a single mom, and my mom worked very hard all her life. We didn't have a lot of time with her in terms of quantity, but we did have a lot of quality time with her. So I think a busy working woman who cannot have a lot of quantity can have a lot of quality time if they plan their time with their children well. As far as a supportive spouse, I think that's very important. If you can have one, for example, my husband babysits our kids when I have to be out late for events or for the business. We would schedule it in such a way that I would leave the house when he comes home. And if you can work and coordinate with your spouse, if your child can be with either parent, I think that would be great. And if you're a single mom, get the help of your parents or in-laws or family or friends.
Speaking about your mother, you said that your mother is a single mother, and she managed to support you and
My
your
siblings.
That's amazing. Where did she draw her strength from all these years? I'm not trying to ask you whether she had a boyfriend or anything.
No.
But where did she draw her strength from? Is it from you, or is it from some source of strength?
Wow. I'm glad you asked that question because
I can do that.
I forgot to mention when you asked me about my mother's quote earlier. My mother always told us to look at the bright side of things. And my mother is a very positive person. She went through a very difficult time when we were young, but she always stayed positive. She was never bitter, and we were always taught to be contented with what you have. Another saying of hers is be content with what you have. Be positive, look at the glass as half full and not half empty, things of that nature. I think she draws her strength from her love for her children, her unconditional and selfless kind of love. She never stopped to think about herself, and she's always thinking about us. So I think to this day she does everything for us.
Now, for your children, what kind of children do you want them to grow up to be? Because many have asked about the diaspora, the Chinese diaspora, and the cultures that's been merged and mixed. You know, you being Chinese, and of course your husband being a Persian, and your children discovering that their mother is Chinese and the husband is Persian
And born in America.
and born in the United States. How do they see themselves? And now that they also come and visit Malaysia and Singapore, do they see themselves as Chinese or Asian, or what sort of identity do you want them to relate to?
We gave them international names. My son is Alexander and my daughter is Danielle. We didn't give them a Chinese name or a Persian name because we wanted them to be international. They have a very unique look because they're a mix of Persian and Chinese. I want them to grow up as Americans, but with a knowledge of their culture, of their parents' culture. And that's why we're teaching them Mandarin, even though it's an uphill battle in United States to teach our children Mandarin, but I'm working very hard at it still. I've spoken Mandarin to them since birth, but they still don't speak Mandarin. They do understand some, I'm continuing. I'm not giving up on that. I want them to at least speak Mandarin, know and understand their heritage, and that's why I brought them to Malaysia to see this is where mommy grew up. And one day I hope to bring them to Iran when it's safer. I want them to learn their culture, and my mother-in-law and father-in-law speaks to them a little Persian here and there, expose them to Persian food, and therefore I want them to know that they are American, yet they have a heritage.
I came to understand that the Chinese associations and even, of course, the Iranian diaspora in America is trying to encourage people to come back and learn and expose to language and culture as well. Is that true? I heard there's also museums and sorts.
I don't see that as much. I think it's a lot of it is the resources are there. The resources are there. There are Chinese schools where you can enroll your children into like weekends, every Saturday weekends. There are resources, but it's up to the individual to expose their children.
Now, about the Asian women in the United States, how are they doing?
I can't.
Is there any equal rights and prosperity of also of distribution? Because it seems that many find that there's a certain degree of prejudice, in the United States. Is that true?
Well, not in California. I think California, recently, if I'm not mistaken, I think the minority has become the majority in California. So, and you see more Asian women now in films, in public places now. I think there's much more equality.
Acceptance?
I'm sorry?
Acceptance. Yes.
Yeah, there's much more acceptance
Why is
now.
it so?
Why is it so? I think people are becoming more open-minded. And California is a melting pot. I can't speak for the rest of the United States, but we very, very, very rarely experience any kind of racism or prejudice these days. I can't remember when was the last time that happened. Oh, yes. When I had a general manager in OC Wine Mart for the first year, he was Caucasian. And we did have some customers coming in assuming that he was the owner and I was the help.
Oh dear.
Yes. That is the kind of very subtle type of, very subtle things that I experienced, but no outright racism or prejudice.
So people think that...
People think assume that because he's white that he's the owner. And even long after long after he left us, people were still asking me what happened to your partner. They can't believe that he was merely an employee.
So people still trying to fix.
They assume that he's the owner.
And is this still happening today? You know that.
This happened quite recently. So.
But now, what about the future of OC Wine Mart Tasting Bar? What's next for you?
What's next? I believe that OC Wine Mart has not reached its fullest potential.
Really?
Yes, we have experienced a huge growth since we first started, but I still believe it's still in its growth stage and it has not plateaued. So I'm planning to launch a wine club,
Mm-hmm.
a monthly wine club where people can subscribe and be sent wines every month, and it's not out of the question for us to perhaps open another location within the next 5 years or so. But I think it's still growing.
Now, what's happening? What's happening in the wine industry in California? I mean, you deal with a lot of wine growers there. Is there a change of perception how wines are they used to be 10 years ago?
Well, I think the wine industry is definitely growing. However, the supply of grapes differ from year to year. So 2009, I heard there's a lower supply of grapes in Napa Valley especially. So there's predictions that wine prices are going to go up. And I've seen some of the prices go up already. The Chinese have really boosted up the demand of the wine out of France, especially Bordeaux. And I see that it's happening slowly in the United States as well. Opus One, for example, is very short in supply now because of the Chinese.
Amazing. Is there a very huge Chinese population in the United States today?
There is a big population and it's definitely growing. It's definitely growing.
And especially in California.
Especially in California. What's more interesting is the growth of the popularity of craft beers.
What's happening with the craft beer right now?
The craft beer industry, I mean, just 10 years ago, people were drinking those mass-produced beers like Budweiser and Miller Lite and stuff like that. But in recent years, there's a movement towards microbreweries, craft beers that are given as much attention as wine. And some beers are even more expensive than wine that I have in our shop right now. People are really taking beer much more seriously now, and you can actually, there are certain beers that